Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Delicious things to eat. The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's been 25 years. 25 years locked in a mental prison with no means of escape. Nothing to do but wait and watch. Trapped in the mind of a little piggy that escaped the slaughter. Too weak to defeat the Guardian. Until now. Now, it's time to have some fun. After all, Dylan, we still never got to play Skin the Cat.
Hello all, welcome to this October 11th through 13th edition of Show Business. As always, I am CP.
Hi, me and Fuego from Infuegotainment and The Horror Show here.
Hello. I am Lindsey of My Two Cents of Nonsense. I'm having a great day. I hope you are too.
Yes. 9 p.m. Eastern every Monday night, live on YouTube. Just going to say hello to the chat real quick. Hello, Sandra. What's up? Tim, Dale, Blu-ray Madness, Tina. I haven't seen you in a while, Tina. Hello. We got Felix, Michael Woodward, and the Manhammer AR-15. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us. Again, if you're listening, we are live on the WILIscredia YouTube channel every Monday night around 9 p.m. And so here's around. We try. So the weekend that was, Joker shockingly came in first. Actually, I don't know if that's shockingly, but
not at all. They all thought it was.
It was only to 56 million. It was 96 last weekend and 56 this weekend. That's a decent drop. Second place was the Addams Family with 30. Third place was Gemini Man with 21 million. Fourth was Abominable. I totally misspelled it on the YouTube page with 6 million. And Downton Abbey in fifth with 5 million. I spelled abominable. I don't know what it is about that word, but I That word just chews me up. Spelling it, typing it.
I am an abominable. I live on the mountain.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, boy.
Boom.
Okay, so we'll go back to that. So, Fuego, you saw everything. So why don't
I saw the top 3, yeah. I haven't watched Abominable or Downton Abbey or anything like that, and I wanted to see Judy because it finally went wide enough,
it was in
and I have yet to
seventh
check
too,
it out.
Yeah.
Yep, that one is finally starting to, creep its way in there with more theaters screening it. But yeah, I saw the quite disappointing Gemini Man, and then I saw the Addams Family just this afternoon, actually.
Okay.
Brief little 80-something minute trying to get that Hotel Transylvania money. But I mean, Joker only dropping 40-something%. Doing how much overseas now? Over half over half a billion overseas, which is nuts at this.
Yeah.
But like in its worldwide entirety. So
it's just shy of 200 million stateside.
rushing.
Yeah, it's doing okay. You could say it's doing okay for an October release.
Yeah. And yet I still can't stop thinking about it. The girlfriend wants to go see it, so I'm gonna get her estimation probably sometime this week.
She has seen it already?
She has not.
Oh.
And yet everybody around the water cooler, because she does the office job, she's like, yeah, everybody's talking about this Joker movie. And she's not really like super into, film and stuff. She's more so like a music person.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, yeah, she's like, okay, I didn't really have much interest because she doesn't even like comic book movies. But apparently she wants to see Joker. And I think that's really, it epitomizes the crossover appeal that a film like this has, where people almost, even if it wouldn't be their thing necessarily, since it's the talk of the town and everybody won't shut up about it, it's kind of like, oh man, you got to come and see this crazy crash that happened around the corner. It's just so messed up, but you got to see it. And it's of a similar mentality, I think. So
yeah. I'm intrigued. This to me feels like it in 2017, like the oh my God, seriously, rah rah rah. But you got to let it calm down a little bit. I think
I read that review actually for rah rah rah.
It's a big YouTuber, like 40,000 subscribers.
So big.
So Fuego, you're the only one who saw Addams Family as quickly as possible.
Totally.
Get to it.
Wow, that was horrible.
Yeah. When I first saw the extent of the voice cast that was being assembled for this film, I was just obviously floored. I'm like, Oscar Isaac as Gomez, Charlize Theron as Morticia, and then Chloe Grace Moretz or whatever, the third Carrie, as I often think of her as, besides Hicks at this point. Her playing Wednesday, and Finn Wolfhard in a weird turn. I didn't really buy him much as Pugsley because I've always envisioned Pugsley as like the quieter, more the way he was in those 90s films, Values in the original.
Those movies are perfect, for the record.
I adore those two films, and of course I've seen them in rotation on cable at friends' houses so far this month, and I'm just reminded how terrific and fairly well they've aged, in all honesty. This one is definitely, despite being PG, it is going for the Hotel Transylvania kiddie crowd. There are some jokes that will only fall upon the ears of adults, but even those, it was more like a mild chuckle here and there. The animation is beautiful, and some of the stuff that they're able to do with some of the big gags and boulders and destruction and monsters and craziness. Yeah, I can only imagine how much it would have cost if they tried to go more live action with this. They wouldn't have been able to assemble all this voice talent, I don't think, because you've also got Nick Kroll, you have Bette Midler, you have Catherine O'Keen, I want to say, Keen or something like that. There's still so many other big names. Martin Short's in there for a little bit. It's a huge cast.
But
of
the
voice
animation
talent,
looks a little funky. How?
It's a strange look. I don't. Okay. They're obviously trying to emulate the comic to some
really?
degree. And
that's what the comic
has found a riff on
it. Looks
it,
like balloons. Looks like somebody like stretched up a balloon. Like you get a balloon out of it.
Right. And there's of course the balloon joke in there too, where they find the red balloon and they're like, there's normally murderous clowns attached to these. What's going on? And they're just kind of looking at it. But most of the jokes fell pretty flat for me, and it has a nice message about not conforming and trying to be your own person, because this whole like development crew comes into the town that surrounds their home, which is up on the hill, and it's like the conformity community where it's all the cookie cutter homes and everybody has to dress in bright colors, almost like Edward Scissorhands type of vibe. And then, but yet even Wednesday feels constrained by the fact that, oh, she can't go out to school and be around other kids, and she can't wear a pink little beret sort of thing. So there is conformity on both sides. And so it is like fairly solid in its message. It's just the jokes don't really land. And, as great as the animation looks at times, it is odd.
Yeah, but
and
it's been done already.
So.
Everything, the message has been done already. The film.
Oh yeah, it's nothing new to the
table. Okay, all right.
I was surprised it made 30 personally. I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely
21.
not
21.
That was 30, I thought.
No, 30 for the full weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Gemini did.
I'm doing it backwards. Excuse me. Apologies to the Addams Family.
But I mean, it didn't quite do Transylvania money, but I was looking at those numbers just before the broadcast when I got home from doing stuff, and and all those only were in their 40s. So it's like, I mean, this didn't really underperform that much, and if it has legs, I don't know. Gemini Man is the one that I'm curious to talk about if either of you guys saw that, because they spent a lot of money on that one, and boy, did it underperform. And I don't know. I have thoughts, obviously.
Well, let's swing it to Lindsey, because Lindsey saw it, and he had me intrigued before we went live. So, Lindsey, Ang Lee's Gemini Man.
Yeah, it's guys. Ang Lee made a video game. Who would have thought? No, but okay. So like, Ang Lee is a really interesting figure. Like, I love Crouching Tiger. I really, really like Taking Woodstock. I actually genuinely like that movie quite a lot. And
I like his Hulk movie. I don't care what people say. I like his Hulk.
I agree. Sure, yeah, it's not the MCU, but it's fun. It's weird. They went for a thing. I respect that they went for a thing. Like, not enough people go for things these days, if you get what I mean. And this movie's doing that again. It's going for a thing he's tried for in the past. I didn't see Billy Flynn's halftime show Walk of Fame or whatever it was. I don't know. I don't even really remember. But I know that it was also shot at like a high frame rate, just like Gemini Man was.
Oh, did you see it in the frame rate?
I did. I saw it in 60 frames per second, 3D.
As did I.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, a visual film like this, you have to see it as it's intended. I think, just like with Alita earlier this year as well. So.
I mean, I agree that you should see it in like what the director views it at least once. See it like what. But I kind of want to go back and watch Gemini Man without. I wonder if it'll be like an easier movie to watch. Like, the story still won't make sense and the characters will still be poorly written, but. Like, it'll be an easier visual feast, perhaps. I don't know.
It was too much of an onslaught in some of those bits, because it is like rather taxing. Yeah.
Like, and it's cool. There's a lot going on, but like for me, it also kind of like there's so much going on, and you can see so much because So what we mean, just so to clarify, what the interesting visual flair of Gemini Man is, it was shot at 60 frames per second. And what that means is normally a movie is shot at 24 to 30, 24 or 30, somewhere in there, frames per second.
Well, in a projector, it's 24 frames.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I was thinking video game for a second, which is video games are very all about their frames these days. That's another discussion. So what it means is every second that's passing, there's 24 pictures being placed in front of each other to create the moving image. Blah 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 blah. The theory is when you put more frames in there, there's higher resolution. There's more stuff going on. You can see things. It's a smoother image and all that. And that's why video games are big on it, because the more frames popping at the screen at the time, the more information's coming at you, the more you can react to what's going on, and so it improves the gaming experience. And so so people are trying to see if it can enhance movie-going experiences. And honestly, it just kind of made me notice all the bells and whistles. I easily noticed stunts. I easily noticed stuntmen. It was obvious when it just made everything look like a green screen, even when it wasn't on a green screen. And when it was on a green screen, only God was it obvious. I don't know. I've talked a lot before you go. What do you think? What do you think? What's your feel?
It was definitely very boring, cliched in the storytelling department. I mean, we know there's a clone involved and so on. I mean, we've seen this in so many different science fiction tales. I wasn't really too impressed by any performances, and I really enjoy Will Smith. And boy, Be Still My Heart, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, man. I mean, ever since Scott Pilgrim and 10 Cloverfield and
Final Destination 3.
I mean, she's Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's in my current 3 of like kind of the
laminated.
What's the word I'm looking for? I mean, I mean Lizzie Kaplan, Aubrey Plaza, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. They're like the 3 of those like early 30s actresses right now that I feel like they can be funny, they can be dramatic. They have
and
such
they could eat
range,
crackers in bed too,
and they're super beautiful too. Yes, and I would have no issues with that whatsoever.
And I love her pairing up with Will Smith because she has such an easy charm about her. She's always just so accessible. She's and like so down to earth in a way. Like I don't know what the right word is. Like she's just very easily charming, the same way Will Smith is. So the two of them together is like, oh, this should be a fun kind of charming rom. But I cut you off though. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It was stacked in the creativity department, obviously, and with a big budget of almost 140 million.
Oops.
This has to be really disappointing to open 20 million domestic, and I don't know if this is going to make its money back, really. I mean, will the international market take enough to it where it can salvage this? Because we know with marketing, we're probably looking at like 350, close to 400 million in total that the studio has spent for this movie, although I'm sure they got some nice kickbacks with all the product placement from Budweiser and Stella and Tostitos. There's so much of it in this movie, like it's like Transformers status of marketing. It was that bad. And whenever you have to have a shootout in a grocery store so you can just show the names of all the different products and stuff, you're like, yeah, some money from these companies.
He hates these cans.
Yeah, smash, destroy, shoot. But
there's a scene where Will Smith and another dude are just passing a can of Coke back, and the labels at the camera the entire time.
Yeah, and they stay at the like just unmoving shot, and it's just right there with the logo turned like just enough so you can see it and everything. That kind of stuff just irks me a little bit. But I mean, I watched an '80s movie like Slumber Party Massacre 2, and there's Pepsi product placement all throughout that damn thing. So it's not like it's a big studio or a small, low budget type thing. But problem with this is that I think John Wick has set stuff like John Wick and the Raid films and stuff has set the bar for action so high that while I found a few of the scenes impressive, including one down in Colombia is pretty cool, a chase scene. And then there's one that happens in, Russia, where they're down in
Budapest.
Yeah, Budapest, correct. There's just that one scene in Russia where he's talking with that one guy or something. But in any event, there's a couple cool action setups, but they still felt, compared to a lot that I've seen lately that is setting the bar so high, just kind of more on the mundane side, slow-mo. There's cool flourishes here or there, but I mean, it didn't bring a lot new to the table in any aspect, which is why I think, even though Will Smith, as far as being in blockbusters, he can still make a lot of money being a side character in something like Aladdin or Suicide Squad. But as far as being the main guy and being able to headline a film and make Independence Day or Men in Black money, I'm really wondering if that time is
what about
past
worldwide?
Now, or maybe it just needs to be the right vehicle. Like,
I mean,
it's a good question.
You brought up Transformers, and all a movie needs to be good in is America or China, as far as money's concerned. Yeah. And if I don't know how well they know Will Smith in China, like because they have that they only started releasing American movies recently, so they might know him as a star still. I
mean, they probably advertise him as the dude from Suicide Squad.
I'm actually going to look if it was released in China as of yet.
Yeah.
And it was not released in China yet. It was released in Australia, Austria, France, Germany, Iceland, Israel, Lithuania, New Zealand, Norway, Portugal, Slovenia. So it's not had its UK release yet, and it's not had its China release yet, being two big markets there. So, I mean, it did twice internationally what it did domestically. It did 39 compared to the 20 here. So
that's
who knows? Maybe
Iceland
it could trend really well in China, and it's not been released in Japan either. I don't know. This is being the video game centric culture that we're in to a degree, especially in the Far East and stuff. Like Lindsey was implying, I think maybe that could be the saving grace for this film, because I think it's gonna die. It's gonna be out of the top 5 next weekend, especially with Maleficent, Zombieland 2, even smaller stuff like The Lighthouse, which is about to come out, JoJo in minor release not limited, I guess. So yeah, Gemini Man is gonna be done. So I doubt it even breaks 10 next week.
That's half. I mean, I think they'll take 10 at this point.
I think they would too. It'll probably do more like 6 or 7, but who knows? Yeah, we'll see.
Continuing the theme of like this movie and its connection to video games, like there's a lot of really weird first-person shots.
Yes, and that's where it felt like a video game, or like the other R-rated one from the first-person perspective. What the hell was it called? I saw that in theaters too, and it almost like it almost got me nauseous a little bit from all of the jumping off of everything and just being in that first person perspective. But entertaining.
And I think that was shot at a somewhat high frame rate, or like in order to make up for like all the head spinny stuff. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Wasn't also one of the Hobbit movies, I want to say, was
yes,
also
the first one.
Format. Yeah.
And I liked it. I thought that was the best of the Hobbit trilogy. I liked the first one. We can debate that another time. We don't need to get sidetracked into that.
3 was awful.
3 was, oof. But
awful.
It was. Oh my god! No, we're getting derailed. We're getting derailed. We're not talking about Lord of the Rings right now.
Tolerably mediocre.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just when you try to stretch a book that's like a couple hundred pages into 9 hours of filmmaking almost, if you include the extended cuts. But I know they had other stuff to pull from. But nonetheless.
Or literally one chapter into a 3-hour movie.
I call that inoffensively bland.
Yeah. Well, it's like comfortably numb, inoffensively bland.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the worst thing, for you not to hate it or to love it, to just be kind of indifferent and just not really? You're like, I didn't really care about it either way, and just like, oh man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of my reaction to Gemini Man. Like I was on my phone. There was no one in the theater, so I was on my phone a little in this movie, and I hate doing that, but I was on this phone because I just didn't care. Like the logical leaps in the story were, okay, Will Smith killed dude. Dude wasn't who Will Smith thought he was. Dude was other guy, but that actually doesn't matter because they're trying to kill him because of this other reason. But I guess it just ties into I know. Look, we just wanted a reason for Will Smith to fight his younger self. Why do you want a story here? We just wanted Will Smith to fight his younger self.
And seriously, the tropiness of just, okay, it's Will Smith meeting old friend after old friend and hugging these old guys, and then they just sit down and BS for a while about how great friends they used to be. And there's so much exposition that happens in this film,
Ang Lee,
especially when he's.
Yeah, this is
Tell, don't show.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when the guys are sitting down and just explaining the motivation of this and that to you, where he's sitting with that Russian guy who's like, I am a big fan. How do you say in America, long-time listener, first-time caller? That is me. And funny line, obviously, but that guy proceeds to sit down and explain the entire movie to the audience in about 5 minutes, and the motivation of this character and what happened with that character. And I'm just like, exposition, hallelujah. I had no idea what was really going on, but for the lowest common denominator, let's give them let's spoon feed them, So.
And I actually hated that scene so much because that was the scene that made me feel like, oh, why is this so video gamey? Because it reminded me of like those I don't know, like in video games there's a thing where like yes. It was very, very LA and very LA noir in that its attempt to capture photorealism, and like because the characters in the foreground had so much detail on them, and there's like so many little things you can make out, and the image is so clear. But then in the background, it's all significantly lower quality. Like how in a video game, the characters closest to the camera will look good, but the further back you get, the worse they look. So you're putting less stress on the video game engine. And maybe that's just blurring the background. I don't know, but maybe blurring the background
that's
just looks
Skype
out
technology.
Much worse.
It happens with me on Skype all the time.
Ang Lee left the blur the background feature on.
I know there's not much to look at back here, but I mean, come on.
A lot of album covers.
But there were so many people just walking around as they're having this like clandestine, deep conversation about foreign affairs and assassination.
Yeah.
There's so many people around.
Push those syllables a little bit closer together next time, Lindsey. Clandestine. I was like, what? Clan?
Yeah, the clandestine itself too. I wanted to like this movie. I really did. It's just
I honestly did too, because the trailers, I was stoked by the concept, and I love a good sci-fi action kind of thing, and this was not, regrettably, and it wasn't terrible. It just was not particularly memorable. I will say the effects of Will Smith's younger counterpart, about 90% of the time, looked really good. The end scene, the 6 months later, without spoiling stuff, there is a postscript to this movie, so stick around, I guess. And or maybe not, I don't know.
Oh, there was a post-credit scene? I missed that.
No,
he's implying sequel.
There's not.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that was where I saw some kind of chinks in the armor, and I'm like, ooh, young Big Willie does not look that good here. So I don't.
Yeah, the scene where he didn't have his shirt on was like the one moment, like, oh, genie vibes. The head doesn't look right with the head again. Like, oh, this is okay. Stop doing this stuff to yourself, Big Willie. You're better than this.
Anthony Winter in the YouTube chat says Alita reminded me of a video game, which is all I keep thinking about when I hear you guys talk. Which Alita was kind of fun though. So what happened?
Alita had like a flair to it. Like Alita wasn't trying to capture reality perfect. And this is Uncanny Valley. This is like Tarkin and
Mortal Engines
Rogue One. Like,
was kind of fun too, but Mortal Engines at times just was like, oh, really?
But it was like a hyper realized version of stuff. So, you know, like the robot zombie dude didn't look exactly like a robot zombie. What he had like big green eyes and exaggerated features, right. Whereas like the more real you get, the more obviously fake it. It's all that old thing.
I see.
Yeah, Alita was more so like big dumb fun to me that kind of knew that it was and wasn't trying to be something that it necessarily wasn't. And you know, with the excessive melodrama and the like kind of hokey characters and the lame love story and whatever. This movie, I felt like it thought it was smarter than it actually was, you know, and didn't necessarily embrace that. It's quite a serious film for the most part. You've got some Big Willie quips that were probably, you know, just him ad-libbing on set and stuff, especially the very there's the well, no, I don't want to spoil stuff, but yeah, it is a fairly serious film for the most part, and it's not as in on the joke, so to speak, as Alita. Plus, I thought I loved the action in Alita, and Alita felt much more like a comic book to me that was not going as much for the photorealistic aspect as this one was, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I like that you brought up the hokey love story in Alita, too, because I actually really like that there wasn't a love thing in Gemini Man. Like, they could have easily...
I thought it was good. Well, they kind of make you think they're going there, and that was one thing I appreciated that they did not. And I guess maybe that's a little bit of a spoiler, but I mean,
I do agree, because I did have that thought, like, oh God, no, Mary, you're better than this. Don't. I mean, hey, Will looks good for whatever age he is. I will not look that good when I'm Will's age, but you know,
as he talks about at one particular point, he's like, I'm 50 years old, and they're just like, actually, you're 51. He's just like, shut up.
Exactly. He's older than that though, isn't he? How old is Will Smith?
That's a good question. I can't say that I know offhand.
Oh, he is 51 actually. Okay.
Hi, Cody.
Well, there you go.
Well done, sir. Okay.
Cody says the lineup was better when Brian was on it. Hey, that's a pretty good segue. Bryan Cranston, I think that's who we meant.
That's the Brian. This isn't the Brian you're looking for.
So Netflix. Those of you who have Netflix and I don't know, access to somebody else's Netflix password can watch the.
Or you're one of the 8 people that watch my.
So we both can watch Netflix.
So El Camino, which is they're calling it a movie. I'd like to call it the Breaking Bad epilogue, because it's not necessarily necessary, but it was nice to see. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have a Lost epilogue, a Dexter epilogue.
They've been trying to get Dexter back for a while. So many petitions. Yeah, same with Hannibal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hannibal.
I've heard about the Hannibal one.
I would have figured Hannibal would have a stronger chance than Dexter because. But El Camino, 2 hours, pretty strong movie.
Yeah.
Lindsey.
They do a lot in that 2 hours too. Like. There was a moment where I checked that I've only been watching this movie for 20 minutes. It felt like an hour, and like in a good way, because like just they were doing stuff, and just so many movies just don't do stuff. They just tread water, and so much stuff happened in this movie. I like this movie.
What's the dude's name from Game Night? Is it Todd?
The actor.
Yeah, no.
Jesse.
No, not Jesse Pinkman. No. The blonde-haired guy who was one of the. Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons. That's it. Jesse Plemons.
I didn't realize how skinny he was in Breaking Bad until watching this. I was like, man, he gained weight. What is going on here?
I actually really like the way they handled that, because like they don't fully show him for so long. So you get used to his presence more than what he looks like. You know, like there's something in his face, or they're showing him from an off angle or something like that. So it's also like it's how Jesse, because it's flashbacks. So it's how Jesse's remembering him. So you know that kind of makes sense. And then when you do see him, like you've been hanging out with him for a while, so it's not as big of a shock as suddenly here's this character and he, you know. But people change. That happens. Like, you know, people change. The guy dude put on some weight because he probably retired early. Good for him. If he's
but
happy,
last time
who
we
cares?
saw him, he was, you know, if you timeline it, it doesn't make sense. But you know, that's nitpicking. Didn't Robert Forster die the day this came out too?
Yeah, like the day after or something, and everybody was like, "Dude, I just saw him on the Netflix El Camino movie, and then he passes away." I thought he was so great in Jackie Brown, and I mean tons of other stuff. But he was
even when he's in really bad things. He was like, what was that, like Dragon Wars movie? Like he owned the hell out of his screen time in that. If anyone actually remembers that movie, and he was so good in El Camino. He has such a tiny but memorable role in the show, and they brought him back, and he was just he's so perfect.
I feel like for the last definitely the last two episodes, you were getting Walter White's, like, this was all right. We're wrapping up his story, and we kind of neglected Pinkman's story during all that. I feel like you could kind of roll this the same time as the last two episodes of Breaking Bad, as sort of like, okay, this is what they were doing at the same time, and like you got the antagonists wrap up. This is Jesse's really the protagonist of this story, and here we're gonna give you his epilogue, and and
it worked. It's so good. I don't want to keep saying perfect, but
for a show,
it's pretty good.
For a show, it works. Emily,
I've seen a lot of people though, guys. I have to ask, since I'm not like up to date on this particular show, and like CP said initially, I've heard a lot of people say they enjoyed it a lot, but it felt unnecessary. Like it wasn't ultimately needed. They should have just done maybe a couple episodes as opposed to this film and kind of built up the whole thing. But also with the fact that Better Call Saul has seen all of the success in a prequel form, I have also heard people say that this, since I don't know the series, you guys would have to give me some insight. Is this kind of a backdoor pilot for another Breaking Bad spinoff potentially?
Can't be.
I guess spoilers, but no, definitely not. It is a definitive bow on the end, and it's done.
Maybe that was hope on people's part before they saw it, with hopes it could spin things off into something different, and then their dreams are dashed away. I think I know what that might entail now that you guys say that.
Well, I mean,
you know what's funny? It's like,
you brought up Dexter, so
it is Hollywood. Nobody's ever really dead. I mean,
that's
come
true.
on.
And I mean, spoilers. I was worried that they would do something kind of dumb along those lines, if you know what I mean. And I'm really glad that they didn't. They
with regards to a certain father from Malcolm in the Middle.
Look, Lois.
You don't know the show at all.
Screaming.
Never mind him. He did have a cameo in the movie. He was in the film.
A lot of people expected he would.
Like, and they
flashback or something.
Well, Breaking Bad's known for its flashbacks, or flashbacks, flash forwards. It's part of the thing of the show.
Planting a seed that teddy bear. How many weeks did we see that teddy bear's eye, and then the teddy bear floating? I forget what season that was, but it was like, what the
season
what
2
deal is with this pink bear? What the hell's going on? Yeah, it was like every episode leading up till the end. But what I was going to say was, as a film, as Emily was watching this with me, she's watched some of Breaking Bad. There were times where she was confused in the first act, which, I mean, if you listen, as the epilogue to a show, cool. As a standalone film, I don't think it does the proper 3-act structure, because it's just like, meanwhile, like that's how it starts. It picks up with Jesse, storming away from, his drive there at the end of Breaking Bad. So there are some things that, like his two buddies, which, by the way, meth, is that one dude like really on meth? Because that dude is aging horribly.
Oh, which guy, Skinny Pete? Or...
Yeah. He looks 70, and he looked, I don't know, 50 the last time we saw him. He looks terrible. That guy is method, is what I will say. You know, dropping in on them makes no sense as a film. Like, if you just watch this film, you're like, what's the deal with those two guys? Why are they so whatever? I mean, they kind of.
Well, I mean, by that argument, though, does Endgame need to be accessible for people that have never seen any of the Marvel movies?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, though. That is a culmination where everybody would be lost.
If you do Infinity War and Endgame, you're okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, Emily, we crash coursed only Avengers movies, and she was pretty well all right. The one thing when everybody made a big deal of On Your Left, she was like, "Why are these people going crazy?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a thing." Just
he said it once, it was cute. He said it again, it was less cute.
Just let it happen. It's a thing.
Yeah. Just let On the Left happen. Give me On the Left, damn it.
Well, to quote Stephen King's most recent book, actually, there's a part in The Institute which is about all these. It's very Stranger Things. It's about these kids with TK and TP that are in a facility and they're being experimented on. And this kid who's new to the facility shows up, and he proceeds to say in his head, he's like, "This is worse than showing up for a program already in progress. This is like showing up in the 4th season of a show that has dozens of characters and so many different subplots and all of this different stuff." And so I guess that would probably be the argument for both El Camino and for Endgame, and the fact that if it's billed very much as a tie-in to a series, you need that point of reference. And I think the casual viewer needs to understand that and not go in expecting to be kind of confused. So, you know.
Oh, Cody's saying season 2, 4 episodes, a 737. I was like 737 down. I don't know a show of 737.
Yeah, 737 down, 18 across. You sunk my battleship.
Yeah, no, it's 737.
I know.
Okay, and now I'm thinking up, down, left, right.
Yeah, we're all misreading.
Select star. Yeah. I want all those Contra lives, man.
Yeah. So it's.
Nice cut
I mean,
there.
it's good. You kind of need. You kind of need some sort of knowledge going into it. Like, you can't just say, "Oh, this is new on Netflix this week. Let me pop this on. I've never seen Breaking Bad before." You you need, at the very least, you need the last half of the last season to get just what Jesse's gone through, and just like how big a deal it is. And I mean, I think they do the flashback stuff with his girlfriend, right? Or am I just misimagining that?
Jessica Jones makes an appearance in El Camino, if that's what you're asking, in flashback form.
Nope.
Which girlfriend? Is there another girlfriend? Oh, Kid Lady.
Yeah.
Kid Lady.
Am I misimagining? Maybe I'm just taking Jessica Jones. Dude, my memory is like really deceiving me.
I don't think she appears, but I do know who you're talking about.
Because that's a big moment in the season. Yeah. And whether or not they flash back to that kind of gives you an idea of just how stuck he was. I mean, showing the building
or his feelings towards another character.
Because Jesse was just so tortured. He experienced so much nonsense in that second. Like it was a culmination. This movie was like an exhale for people. But what about Jesse? But as far as
you technically don't need to know,
right?
Those final shots of him in that final episode, just like screaming in happiness, and not necessarily happiness, but screaming in freedom as he's driving away. And like that's all you need. But sometimes it's worth it. Just Game of Thrones is supposed to get 2 more books.
Dude, why are there 3 before movies? Before sunrise, before sunset, and before midnight, happily ever after. It's really neat that they're like, well, they broke up and kind of met up again, and it's sometimes it's neat. I love that trilogy so much, and I must admit, Before Midnight is probably the toughest one to watch because of the fact that they did end up together, but it's not like. Perfect, yeah, it's just brutal. Oh man, this is so real.
Yeah, that trilogy is so good, man. And I mean, Dopey and Hawk are fantastic. Linklater, despite the fact that not all of his stuff hits, he's one of my favorite working filmmakers because I will always watch what he puts out. And he puts out a movie every year or so. So he's he's kind of like the Woody Allen in that regard.
It blows my mind that he did School of Rock, but goddamn, do I love School of Rock? Like,
Oh, dude, School of Rock, and then
Yeah.
Waking Life, and then Dazed and Confused, and then I mean, he's so all over the place. Slacker is like an indie gem that so
Nobody
few of my friends have seen,
allowed to
and
say
it
Boyhood.
inspired Kevin Smith.
No Boyhood. No Boyhood.
Boy,
No. That is the
let's just say ambitious.
that's the anti
it was
Linklater
ambitious.
film. Richard, when I think of Linklater, I think of, a day in the life of blank. And Boyhood is the antithesis of that typical Linklater style. And there's no arc for anybody. The only person that has an arc in that
it's
movie
just
is the guy who gets inspired to be a restaurant manager because he did the mom's lawn once or something like that. It was so bleh.
It was a cool concept. And he's got that like 30-year concept or 25-year or whatever, the musical thing
Oh,
that he's
boy.
apparently very boldly describing. I don't know. We'll see.
I like that Boyhood exists, but my Boyhood study was I was watching it with my girlfriend at the time, and she knew I had to watch it for YouTube stuff, but halfway through it, she's like, I'm going to go. I'm just, I'm sorry. And it was fine. Like, it was like, that wasn't why we broke up, but it was just like, I'll just never
led
forget
to
that
it.
moment of, it was the precursor. Yeah, there you go. It was like right after that scene too, where they're like throwing the buzzsaws. And you like think like, oh, someone's gonna get hurt, and like, oh, we threw the buzzsaw again, but then it just ends, and it could have been anything. It didn't have to be buzzsaws. I don't know. I like that it exists. It's just not for me, and I'm never gonna watch it again.
Wait, let me stop for a second. Is there not the trailer going to premiere during the football game tonight?
I've been
for
Googling
Star Wars. There's been various rumors.
Yeah,
They're
the
saying it either is or it isn't. They're thinking it might not happen until next Monday during Monday Night Football.
Well, that's
that would be shitty if that's
So,
the case. Up there.
yeah, S is good.
It's
S
an
is
S
good.
bomb. We're not dropping.
Well, is the game still going on? Because if they do
Yeah.
it during the game, it's gonna be the last commercial break.
The both there's a playoffs for baseball and football, but ESPN is owned by Disney, so I would assume it's going to be the football game. So in the chat, if you somehow get word, by all means, scream, yell up and scream that Star Wars, we'll know, and then we'll do a live reaction for you. But if not, then I've got false information and even more reason to talk news. First, the big news was Catwoman.
Today,
Zoe Kravitz
Yeah.
is announced as Catwoman, and Matt Reeves is the Batman. Is that the official title of this film? Is the Batman?
I don't know if they've ever officially, actually confirmed that title, but I mean, there's no graphics floating around from Warner Brothers that are confirming that. But I think it's safe to say that's probably what they'll go with. So, I mean, being the whole rebootiness of it.
Fuego, how do you feel about Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman?
I just don't know enough about her. I haven't watched Big Little Lies. I saw her obviously in First Class and in a few other smaller things. I know she had a little, very minor role as one of the wives, if I remember, in Fury Road. And so I mean, she's been in stuff, but yeah, Big Little Lies is where everybody says she shines. And since I haven't seen that, I'm kind of in the dark. She's pretty, and when I saw the side by side, she is Lenny Kravitz's daughter, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You can totally tell.
Yeah, 100%. You totally can see the genes there. Good genes too. It's him and Lisa from Cosby Show, right? I think something Bonet.
Oh, Lisa Bonet's daughter. Oh, really? I didn't know. Oh,
Maybe.
yeah, it makes more sense.
I think so.
Maybe.
She does look like a bit of a hybrid of those two, so that would make sense.
I just got to double check because I don't want to feel like a total dunce.
She
but
does.
I'm pretty sure that is in fact the case.
She does have like.
Yeah, parents Lisa Bonet, Lenny Kravitz. Yeah,
Good for
so
them.
she's got like
That's an attractive. She's not ugly.
I agree.
She's not ugly. That girl.
Not at all. Yeah, and when I saw the side by side, I was just like, yeah, I could totally see her being the Catwoman, and change up the whole skin color a little bit. All for it, man. I mean, a beautiful woman is a beautiful woman at the end of the day, and bring some. I guess she was down to Zazie Beetz and the Hispanic girl whose name I cannot recall. I feel terrible for not knowing it. Who was one of the bad guys. It was Bernthal's girlfriend, I think, in Baby Driver. So that girl, it was down to the three of them, and it came down to Zazie and to Zoe.
John Hamm's girlfriend, not Bernthal.
Yeah, he was a single dude. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Since that news has dropped, I've seen arguments made that you're talking about the casting. People have argued that both the best and worst versions of Catwoman have been African American women. In Halle Berry, Halle Berry obviously as the worst, and Eartha Kitt as the best. And some people think Eartha Kitt is the best rendition of Catwoman. I mean,
hey, she owned it.
Michelle Pfeiffer. I think without that outfit, I don't know. That outfit's a lot of work.
That's my favorite Batman movie. So
Batman Returns, I agree with you.
I agree with you. Batman Returns is my favorite Batman movie. It is so dark and so weird. It's maybe more of a Burton movie than a Batman movie at the end of the day. Yes. But
yeah, it definitely is. But I also like Batman Returns, and Michelle Pfeiffer's good. It's just it's too corny of an interpretation. I feel like to really be I don't know. She's better than Anne Hathaway.
Oh yeah, Anne Hathaway's barely
bad.
Barely there's nothing that's noticeable about her in that movie. So
I always wondered if she was supposed to be like Oracle or something like that, and then someone's like, "No, she can't be Oracle. Just make her Catwoman." But that's been no, you can't do Oracle, and so we got Catwoman.
Yeah. I'm not a Hathaway fan when she does the bigger stuff like the Princess Diaries and the the Catwoman and stuff. But yet the Rachel getting married and Colossal stuff like that, she really shows me that she's got super talent. Mm-hmm. And then she goes and does something like The Hustle or whatever, and you're just like, okay, yeah, she likes paychecks. Those are pretty nice. So
yeah, I think this role. I mean, it all depends. I mean, this is what she's going to counter Robert Pattinson now. I'm assuming they're going to go Catwoman as the villain. Yes, no. I mean,
they've made Catwoman so much of a love interest in a lot of the later stuff. I mean, he ends up marrying her in the comics. They tries to kind of. Anyway, I don't want to spoil.
Does anyone ever actually get married in comics, or at least for like a while?
Well, yeah. There was a recent Tom King. I think that's the guy who's been writing Batman for a while. There was a big marriage storyline with him and Catwoman and stuff. And of course, every villain you can think of is trying to muck things up. But yeah, ever since even Hush in the '90s that Jim Lee was doing, they've been making Catwoman more of like the star-crossed lover that they can't figure it out, but they have the attraction. And Batman will go and have kids with Ra's al Ghul's child and do all these different things, but he still has this connection with Selina, that the fact that they're both on the fringe and they're both costumed crazoids, I guess. So I'm really wondering if they're going to make her more love interest and less just the antagonist, basically. So
yeah,
I think it would be cool if they completely cut, at least for the first part, maybe if they bring her back, if they get the Batman Returns or the Batman First Blood or whatever the hell, they can bring her back and then have the love interest stuff. But if it's one movie no love interest, I think that'd be cool. Maybe kind of dangerous flirting, or maybe did you guys see the 302 Rise of an Empire?
I did. I own it, but I don't remember it very well. I haven't watched it.
Oh, the 300 sequel.
Yeah.
I'm
not the 302.
Yeah, which was not done by our video game more or less director man and everything. And yeah, Butler was gone, if I remember.
Yeah, Gerard Butler. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird mess of a movie, but there is that one. There's this weird dynamic the entire movie between the guy they got to replace Gerard Butler and oh god, what's her name? I love her so much from Casino Royale.
Eva Green.
Yeah.
Be Still My Heart. She made my blood boil in A Dame to Kill For. But yeah, she is a terrific actress. She's great.
I love Eva Green, and she's so aggressively just attractive, yet also emasculating.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's psycho bitch. Yeah.
If you did something like that with Catwoman, where it's Batman's oh, I want to put her in jail, and just I hate her, but at the same time, it's also God, I want to tap that. Just something like that. That might be kind of.
I think Zoe Kravitz is a big enough deal and a small enough deal where there's not too much pressure. I mean, Zoe Kravitz, you could think of her in a bunch of, feature roles, but there's nothing where it's oh my God, Zoe Kravitz owned this movie. Where Robert Pattinson, everybody's the sparkling vampire is going to be Batman. Where there's not that much pressure. Where if she sucks, so be it. But if she really does well, then this could be her jumping off point. Or not.
I don't know. I've been sure. The moment you said that, I'm like, like she was good in Mad Max. She was good in Divergent.
She was in that too. Yeah.
Right? She was the Kravitz for your YA post.
We can't get Lenny.
That's why Maze Runner failed. You didn't have a Kravitz in Maze Runner. Oh no! Wait, someone said she was in another movie I really liked, like a much earlier movie.
She's slowly, like, I think I've seen her 3 or 4 times in the last calendar year, and I can't think of what the hell else.
What has she been? I'm gonna look her up real quick. You guys vamp for a minute.
Well, I'm just curious about how many of, as Cody Leach reminded in the chat, like how many of these rogues gallery are we going to see in whatever limited capacity? Are they going to have, is this going to be like goddamn Suicide Squad where we have like a little introduction of a ton of different villains that he can potentially go against? Is this going to be set in Arkham like a lot of people have speculated? They've already talked about Jonah Hill as the Riddler. Initially the Penguin, when everybody was thinking about, oh, he's overweight, he needs to play overweight characters. And then when the rumor turned around, then they're like, no, he's actually rumored to be the Riddler. And everyone was just like, oh, look at us for getting presumptive and just assuming he's going to be the Penguin because, he's got the nose for it, maybe. But, I can see him as...
that one.
So, I'm just curious, and you don't want to overstuff the turkey, but if they are going to make this the soft reset prequel-y sort of thing that they have billed it as since even back when Ben Affleck was attached to rumoredly just be in there for like a passing of the torch, like initial scene and then flashback or whatever.
Dude.
I don't know. Don't do too many is what I worry. And these are both villains we've seen before.
Joker
no killing of the parents.
Oh, Pearl Necklace all the way. I want.
They just died this month again.
I want more angles.
My God, those poor Waynes.
I want more angles of that Pearl Necklace snapping, please.
Actually, fun fact is pearl necklaces are specifically designed to not snap like that. So the only reason they do that in movies is because they want the cool visual. Yeah, they're all tied. So like if you break the strand, they don't all flying.
Okay, I have to quote and say, you gave Mary Jane a pearl necklace. How much did that cost, man?
Also, by the way, Zoe Kravitz was Catwoman in Lego Batman.
Oh,
no
okay.
Kidding.
Yeah,
I heard she auditioned for the Hathaway role and didn't get it, but for Nolan, so that was a while back.
Yeah, I don't think she was ready then. Oddly enough, I think she's done enough today and hasn't really been that big a deal. Where if Joker keeps doing well and keeps making money, Joaquin Phoenix hasn't outright said no, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, to clarify that, originally, remember, they were like, no, it's not happening. And then after it made all the money, they were like, well, you never know. Maybe I'd come back.
I mean, I guess if you guys are going to twist my arm.
If Warner just kind of backs into a CU, they're going to do it. Like, if Joker makes over $1 billion, or, if it crosses one of the big ones, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League. If it
passes,
I think this is totally crossing Justice League.
Yeah. So
it really is.
I wouldn't put it past Warner to be like, all right, you know what? Let's just sidestep a little bit and figure out. All right, here's the new center. Work around it.
Yeah. We got to keep Gal Gadot though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's that coming out soon. Wonder Woman. AHS 84. Everything happens in 84 for some reason.
Wow. So worldwide for Justice League was 657 in its total run. So this is most definitely going to be Justice League. Domestic for Justice League was only 229. So this
it's
might
close
even
already.
beat that in the next week. I mean.
Yeah. Wait.
Holy crap.
I think it's at 190 something.
It's at 195 right now. So figure the rest of the week and then next weekend, I guarantee, like I'll say right now, Joker is going to eclipse the total domestic gross next weekend.
Bold.
Yeah, for Justice League. Not that bold. I mean, maybe It's sad. For
Oh, you mean it's going to make
Justice League
20
when you think about
million
how
in a
excited
week?
it-
Crazy.
I'll say it's going to overtake the worldwide this month.
That's
I can see that too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, because it'll slowly start dripping out to the what other
Exactly.
other countries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not being released in China though, right?
Oh, is
Are
it
there
not?
ghosts in it?
I don't think it is.
I'm trying to like are there NBA basketball teams in it? What?
No, if you look very closely in the protest scene, someone's holding up a free Hong Kong poster. So sorry, not.
Oh, really?
No, really.
Well, they
kidding?
can't be worse off
No.
than how much South Park got gone after that's the China scrubbing of the internet and stuff, and they in turn retaliated even further this past week. So yeah.
And we we keep talking about video games. The video game world, Blizzard completely lost their noodle when some guy won a big tournament for some video game, and then said, "Go Hong Kong Revolution," and they fired him. They fired the people that were interviewing him. They kept his winnings. I mean, they're going to give the winnings back now.
Wow.
They're going to give it back after all
Crazy.
the hubbub. They're going to give it back. But yeah, for a minute there, they're like, "No, you don't get your winnings."
You know,
So this anyway,
I
we
still
don't need
won
to-
the
we don't need to
contest.
get
Sorry, my freedom of speech
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
interesting, rather interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, I that's right. That's why I wanted to talk about this. I knew I had something prepped for this. So Gemini Man was produced by Tencent Pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason why people theorize that Blizzard lost their noodles over this stuff is because a company called Tencent owns 10% of Blizzard. So now I'm wondering if this company Tencent is going around just buying 10% of everything so that China has a 10% stake in everything. I need to do research in that.
Oh.
I could be a conspiracy theorist with the biggest tinfoil hat on right now that anyone's ever seen, but I am looking into that.
I wouldn't dispute that too far. I know they're trying to get their hands on just about everything. Like, I mean,
Right.
all you have to do is insert major, not that big a deal blockbuster here, and you'll have stick figure man letters in the beginning, and it's just like, yep, okay, that studio I've never heard of, and that's got to be. Those are letters I don't.
Freaks is my favorite movie of the year, and I hadn't heard of a single studio that had their name before Freaks. So
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
they're trying to get that Hollywood money. I don't know why. There's a lot.
Well, because they want to own 10% of the world, I guess. I don't know.
Go after that Amazon money. What are you making movies for?
Can you imagine the Chinese Amazon? Chamazon?
Oh no, it would be like
person.
you'd have to change one of the letters, Amazon, and it would be an S.
Oh, that's horrible. You're
What
bad,
happened?
Sir. We're bad.
What?
We're all bad people
What?
now.
You never got a coochie bag
Bro.
before?
I do need to catch up on that South Park though, by the way, before I go. I think I'm like 2 seasons behind, so I want to get caught up, but I do want to see what South Park did to piss off China. I'm very interested.
I did a massive binge about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, because there are only 10 episode seasons at this point. I watched 20 and 21, and then I have been 21 and 22. I should specify. 22 canceled South Park, very good. 23. Not up to par so far, but the China diss has been amusing. So
I just love them when they're fearless and be like, "Oh, you want to fuck with us? Ooh, oh, I mean, sorry, that's our
Yep.
one for the show.
There it is.
If you want to mess with us, well, mess back." Oh,
It was
that's
2. It's all
sorry.
right. We're a hard
Okay.
PG-13.
yeah, I mean it has to be context. You can go up
Yeah.
to 3 within context that's not related to sex. So there you go.
And I remember watching in high school, was it Finding Forrester, and they dropped 2, and both times the teacher was like, "Oh!" It's like a joke. Like he thought it was funny.
So the other bit of news, which was a trailer that I wanted to give a specific trailer precedence tonight, but a trailer did release this weekend. Robert Downey Jr. is your new Doolittle.
Yeah. Yeah.
What everyone wanted, right? Another Dr. Doolittle.
There were 2 bad Disney trailers this past week. There was Doolittle and there was Jungle Cruise, and I was just like, both of these look really bad. And
Wait. All right. So start with Doolittle, and
Yeah.
we'll work
Start
back
Doolittle.
around.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we will. Okay. Fuego, I cut you off. Go for
Yeah.
it, sir. What give us some thoughts, dude?
I was especially surprised by the tone of this Doolittle trailer, and with using the song that they chose for, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world, and this weird like remix of it with like this big crashing percussion, and it didn't feel like a happy, uplifting reinterpretation of the song. It was a weird like, oh, there's conflict with these animals, and Doolittle has to protect the animals because there's this thing going on, and he has to bring them all out onto a boat, and he's doing a fake British accent, and the CG looks very unfinished and not super good, and I just was like, this is the first non-MCU role that Robert Downey is taking in like 5 years. Yeah! They paid him all the money.
Yeah.
I do want to know how much he was paid for that movie. I am
handsomely
dying to know what
probably
the
like
figure on that is.
40 or 50 million. We're talking like a quarter of the production budget, probably, if not more.
And what's even better is there's already leaks from the set of this. People that worked on this movie coming forward and saying how much of a shit show it was.
Well, it lost its director a couple times, right?
It lost at least 2, maybe 3. Yeah.
Wait, so what's the deal with the third Sherlock then? Is that?
It's apparently still happening, but I'm trying to remember if Guy Ritchie is actually directing or not.
Because Guy Ritchie's got something else coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Well, as far as Guy Ritchie news, Guy Ritchie just signed on to direct a remake of a French movie and reteam with Statham, actually.
Oh.
Something I weren't sure if we were going to bring it up, so I might
as well just drive right into that one.
I would love to see that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, there was a heist film from 2004, a French movie called Les Convoyeurs, and they've been trying to get it remade for the longest time. It's an armored car heist film that is apparently supposed to have that sort of, rock and roll. I know he only produced Layer Cake, but obviously, Snatch, and I mean his crime caper type stuff that he is so known for. It's supposed to be his reinterpretation of this heavily celebrated French film, and reteaming with Statham for the first time in a while. So that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, I don't know when the timetable for Sherlock 3 is, or if Ritchie is just EPing or has any involvement of any kind or not. I'm really not 100% sure, but I know it is it is happening. But
yeah, so is Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So
they've been saying for how many
hang
years?
Tight.
I heard today there might be a snap. There's not.
Lindsey.
Yes,
Doolittle. Doolittle. There you go.
I want to see it. It's gonna be horrible. It's gonna be a train wreck. I expect Downey Jr. to look drunk half the scenes. But I want to see it, and I want to know how much he was paid, and I want to get I'm already like I can already name the YouTubers that I want to see do deep dives on this movie and rip it apart. Like I want to see Lindsey Ellis, I want to see Dan Olsen, I want to see H Bomber Guy 2 years after the fact. Like really dig into this thing and tear. But it'll be fun.
See,
not for the reasons it's supposed to be, though.
I've stuck up for Robert Downey Jr. and I'm gonna do it again. The guy acted his ass off in a movie where he admitted to being just off his ass on heroin through the whole movie, which is Home for the Holidays, which was directed by Jodie Foster. It's a Thanksgiving movie. It's not a family film. It's a dysfunctional family film, but. Yeah. He admitted to being high off his ass. Jodie Foster said he was a bit, behind the scenes a little frustrating, but his performance doesn't sway. I mean, by all means, somebody go check it out if you can find it and get back to me on it. But
oh yeah, Holly Hunter. Yeah. God, who else is in it? I think I saw it as a kid.
Steve Guttenberg, I think, is in it too.
Well.
There's a couple of other big names in it. I mean, if he can do that high, then I'm curious to see what lazy mailing it in. Trailers are so. Christopher Nolan, seeing that Tenet, is that how you pronounce the damn movie? Tenet.
I guess, yeah.
Seeing that trailer is like, oh yeah, I'm anticipating something I have no knowledge of. Trailers really influence way too much lately, but not exactly the strongest showing. But Fuego, you compared it to something else, which I have not seen. So,
Oh, you have. Oh.
yeah, I have not
Yeah,
seen.
the Jungle Cruise trailer. Yeah, with The Rock and Emily Blunt, I believe.
Emily Blunt, yeah.
Yeah.
Another one that I love. I've loved her since
Same.
the Adjustment Bureau. Like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, terrific in Sicario,
Mm.
Quiet Place. I mean, yeah, she just continues to kill it, man. Everybody still tells me I need to watch the Doug Liman movie she did with Tom Cruise, even though I've sworn off Tom Cruise movies for quite a while. Everyone says the Live, Kill, Repeat,
Oh,
whatever the hell
it's
it is.
brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
So is Fallout.
You should-
Fallout's great.
Yeah.
Mm.
Fallout's okay, but Edge of Tomorrow is a legitimately great sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Lyman quite a bit ever since like Swingers and
I do
Go
too.
and stuff like that.
Go,
so,
that's right,
Yeah,
he
but,
Lyman fascinates me as a director. He makes some truly interesting movies, actually. and
Teenage
I
Pulp
agree.
Fiction.
he's kind of like Linklater in that degree.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
And so, did you ever see the movie the Lyman did, American Made? And I guess not, because it's Tom Cruise as well. But that was a movie that all kind of leads into like the crazy like smuggling arms to like insurgents in like South America that Ronald
I remember
Reagan's
seeing
in.
the trailer for it, and he's all hopped up on the coke and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
yeah. That was one I was very intrigued about, and just never
Yeah.
got around to seeing. I don't think a lot of people saw it.
And fun fact, Doug Lyman's dad led the investigations into Ronald Reagan's activities with all that, and then Lyman goes and makes a movie about it. That's just so cool to me. Like,
So this rock
Inside
film,
Intel. Yeah.
sorry.
Another big vehicle, big Disney vehicle. It almost feels to me like it's trying to capture some of the Jumanji vibe, like minus the video game aspect, and it just really. It falls short. It feels hammy. It's not, like the jokes don't land. It's not. They have decent enough chemistry. The Rock is kind of a swindler in and of his own right. He's taking people on these cruises where there's orchestrated natives like spitting, little spear spike things at people, Indiana Jones, Templar, Raider style, and then. Emily Blunt consults his help to try to find this specific place in the Amazon, and there's just talk of lore and mythology and all kinds of wackiness, but I mean it just feels not as much like Pirates, where there was a need for the movie, and I mean they're going for the same thing. They're
like...
turning a ride into something that you don't think needs to exist, and I didn't think Pirates needed to exist, and that surprised me, at least with the first entry. This one I could be surprised in that similar regard, but so far no.
It sounds like 6 Days, 7 Nights, what you just described. With Anne Heche and Harrison Ford.
And it's got some, it's got
first
some
good cut, good pull there. That's a good movie.
It's got some Romancing the Stone vibes to it a little bit as well, because there are bad guys that are behind them. There is a mild supernatural influence, and I guess that wasn't in Romancing and Jewel of the Nile, but nonetheless, I mean, it is that sort of like just pairing these two despondent maybe and love interest together, and just going forward and a very expensive looking film that might not be that good because none of the jokes are hitting, and just how good could the story potentially be, and what new stuff is it going to bring to the table. So
the reason why Pirates worked is because what everyone brought to it, it wasn't just like, okay, we're gonna make a pirate movie and they just made a good movie. It's like, we're gonna make a pirate movie and Johnny Depp's gonna do something weird and out there, and we're gonna get Keira Knightley at the top of her game, who's just gonna like just go for it, like way more than she should. Orlando Bloom's gonna be asleep at the wheel, but Jeffrey Rush is gonna just be electric, and we're gonna have great effects that no one's really seen kind of in that capacity before. We're gonna have like people fighting people that were later CGIing over, and like it was a big thing. But this just looks like, okay, we got The Rock, we got Emily Blunt. They've been big hits in Disney movies before. Let's just put them in something called Jungle Cruise, put in the cheesy jokes on the ride, and we got a movie. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like it feels like they feel that they've got an easy cash grab on their hands.
What is it
and they're
based
going
on?
for it.
It's based on the ride,
There's a ride.
at Disneyland. Yeah, the Jungle Cruise ride at Disneyland is what they're basing it on. So that's why they're like, oh, they're going to make a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. That ride's okay. And you're like, oh, they're going to make a Jungle Book or a Jungle, whatever movie. That's,
Well, the Pirates of the Caribbean also has that iconic song, Dead Men Tell No Tales and all that. What does Jungle Cruise have? The corny jokes. And, dude, I love me them corny jokes. If I could have any job at Disneyland, it would be to be the Jungle Cruise guy. But that is not enough to base a movie off of his corny jokes and maybe something mystical.
So then, Lindsey, I didn't ask. Did you watch the trailer, man?
I did, yeah. I don't remember anything about it. I just remember
nothing to remember. I mean, even at the end where it gets kind of supernatural and they're kind of getting to their destination, seemingly, it's just. I don't know. Give me the next Jumanji movie this December if we're going to have The Rock in this sort of scenario, because I really enjoy the supporting cast along with him, and it's more so an ensemble in that regard anyway.
It is weird that Rock is becoming a bit of a cartoonized version of himself, just which is weird because you would think he would be taking hits with stuff like, Skyscraper didn't do well. What was the television remake that was? Oh, Baywatch was abysmal.
Terrible.
I never got around to even watching it because I just was so turned off by the trailers, and I was like, maybe one day I'll have a free Redbox credit or something, and I'll waste 90 minutes of my time. But
here's how bad Baywatch is, and I'm going to sound like I'm objectifying women here for a second, and I just want to say I'm not. This is Baywatch.
You were talking about women all.
Daddario, I mean, it's really tough.
But that's the thing. Baywatch is a thing because it's about people that are sexy with big tits and big abs and in dicks barely contained in shorts, running in slow-mo on the beach. And Alexandra Daddario has one of the biggest racks in Hollywood. How does she not have the lead role, and the person who has the lead role in the Baywatch movie have a smaller? It doesn't make any sense, especially because the leading role she's not an actress. She's like a model that they brought in, and so who's actually a decent actress, Alexandra Daddario. In addition to being hot, like what are you
That's
doing?
Not very
movie?
progressive at all. Lindsey. That's.
I know, but it's Baywatch.
This is harkening back to older days before I joined the show.
I'm sorry, but it's if you're gonna make the Baywatch movie, there's things you have to do.
Right. Well, you could say the same thing for Charlie's Angels, which everything I've seen for that is like, no, you can't make that movie today. I'm sorry, you cannot make Charlie's Angels in the 2019 climate. You just can't. Sorry.
It's called something. For the record, I have hopes for Charlie's Angels. I want it to be good. I don't think it will be. I want it to be.
It's three women that played up their sexuality, and reported back to a dude, and some interesting pimp subtext, if maybe a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's just kind of a part of their essence of espionage. Unfortunately, is like it's the same shit in Red Sparrow.
Red Sparrow, underrated movie.
Films. I thought so too, and as far as seeing nice things in there, but nonetheless.
No, we're not sexist at all. What are you talking about, Lindsey?
Not at all.
We've referred breasts, I think, 16 times this episode.
Yeah.
We are talking about boobies a lot tonight.
Nonetheless, though, that it does come with the territory with Charlie's Angels as far as the whole, you have to swindle and dissuade and use your sex as a weapon, and that's, albeit more comedic in that fashion.
Right. Yeah. There's just stuff that feels a little weird with the excuse me, hashtag quote unquote woke culture. There's movies that are being remade where it's like, you can't do that. There's no way you can do that. Technically, I'm trying to think of like stereotypical stuff that just could have been made 30 years ago that has no chance today. And I would have put Charlie's Angels like right near the top. Even the 2002 version was hokey, but
the first one's fun.
They beat the hell out of the sexuality in that movie though. So like that's only 15 years ago.
Well, this kind of ties in with what Todd Phillips said recently, right? And the fact that he's like, I wouldn't be able to make my sort of films the way that I would want to now. And I mean, maybe films like Animal House and various others just are culturally
Todd will live with that
narrow-minded.
Yeah, well, at least we're like that's.
Does anybody really want a Hangover 4 after 2 and 3? Like, I don't know.
I bet Todd does. I bet you Todd does.
I like that.
I want an old school 2. Damn it, bring it on.
I like that Blockers did it the other way. If we're gonna do that for a little bit, I don't mind that. If we're gonna have sex comedies with girls talking about guys, like I'm all for that. But it just that's refreshing.
I don't know. I feel kind of weird when they objectify us.
Yeah, yeah.
I did really like in Blockers how it's like, it's like the American Pie thing of let's get laid on prom night, and how like one of them gets laid, one of them doesn't, but like the one who gets laid, it's like, I did it, like, guys. And it's not like weirded out. It's not like, oh, how dare you have like, it's like, yeah, you had sex, dude, that's so cool. You had, like, I love that part of that movie. Like, we should.
And I mean, Booksmart did it pretty well also earlier this year too, with that sort of angle.
The one thing that bothered me about Booksmart though was there's a movie with 2 lead females, and what are we doing in that film? We're objectifying a female.
Yeah.
There's one of the characters is a lesbian, and we get this objectified girl in a bathroom scene. I'm just like, what? Of all movies, what are you doing? Why?
Yeah.
Well, maybe at that point, like, you can make the argument they're playing with the gays. It's not the male gays at that point. It's the lady, the girl gay.
No, because the frumpy-looking one ended up not.
I haven't seen Booksmart, so I can't.
I mean, nothing. I didn't say anything. No, because there's 2. This girl has a crush on. She thinks, what's that movie? What's that other rom-com that was. It was about a gay guy in high school who wasn't out. Love, Simon?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So there was a bit of
Love, Simon, something like that. Yeah.
There was a bit of that in Booksmart where a girl wasn't sure of who she was interested in, and it turns out that the one that she thought was a lesbian, spoiler, wasn't. But things happen over the course of the movie where the prettier one's the lesbian.
I've seen it happen.
Oh no, sure. Hi, I'm walking, talking proof that that rule breaks. But yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, it is kind of like the Chasing Amy aspect of where Alyssa's character is talking about, everyone buys into the whole lipstick, or actually no, it's not. It's the gay black guy, now that I think about it, where he's like, everybody buys into the whole lipstick, lesbian aspect, and more of them. He's like, Holden, more of them look like you, and so on and so forth. And
yeah, so forgot what I was saying. What were we? We were just objectifying.
Yeah, I got a little off track there too.
Speaking of Kevin Smith, who is seeing Reboot this week? Either of you guys?
I'll let you know if it's playing in a theater by me. It's a Fathom event, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The 15th, and then on the 17th, they're doing a double feature where they're going to show Jay and Silent Bob, the original, bit of zany silliness, and then they're going to do the second right afterwards. So,
I actually have a really funny Kevin Smith story. I was going to bring it up because we're bringing it up. A guy that I work with pulled me aside today and said, like, dude, I've got something you might need to talk about in your podcast. Mm-hmm. I was on Pornhub the other day and I saw an advertisement for a Kevin Smith movie.
Wait, what's the dates for the Kevin Smith movie?
I don't know.
It's the 15th. It's the 15th and the 17th. So the 15th, which is tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're not paying to go see it tomorrow because of the fact that we have Zombieland 2 tickets press, and we have Maleficent press. So we're sending Marcia and her husband, if I'm not mistaken, to check out Maleficent, and then Cecil and I are going to go check out Double Tap.
I could.
Oh, I can't wait for that, dude! I've been waiting 8 years for freaking Double Tap. I can't wait for that.
I guess I could go see it tomorrow, 22 miles away.
You make it sound like that's far.
I don't have a car.
Hitchhike.
I'll Uber it just to see it. So the 15th and the 17th, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the 17th is when they're showing Strike Back and the new one, Reboot, as well. But the funny thing is, Cecil bought him and I like a little early Christmas present, very nice on his part for me. But we're going to the Reboot Roadshow.
Oh, that's
but
neat.
It's not till December. So we're just like, okay, are we going to wait to see the movie until then? No, we love Kevin Smith and we love the View Askew universe and everything, so we have to check it out as soon as possible. So,
Glenn, good point. Zero chance you can make Revenge of the Nerds today. That is a brilliant point.
That's another one that's got the animal house.
There's rape. There's literal rape in that movie.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I enjoy Revenge of the Nerds when I was young. I haven't watched it since I was 11, I don't think. But yeah, there's parts of that movie that I don't know how I'd feel about.
Bill Cosby's a fan. I'll tell you that much.
The whipped cream on the boobs and all that. I still remember the first time I saw it was on syndication, so everything like the inappropriate stuff of the larger variety was edited out, but nonetheless.
And honestly, I'm just gonna say it. there's nothing wrong with something not aging well. Like,
Right.
art is a reflection of the time with which it's made. It doesn't mean that the movie's bad. It just means that it's an artifact of sorts now.
Well,
like look at Lady and the Tramp. You know, is it Disney's best? No, and it's super racist.
Not only that, but like, you know,
Yeah.
what if it's fiction? Why are you judging fictional characters? Like the same thing. Quentin Tarantino's still making movies. Quentin Tarantino writes all of his stuff. Quentin Tarantino still shoehorns that N-word into anything he does. He screws the N-word into a World War II movie that took place in Europe. So, like, why are people getting...
Was it in Once Upon a Time?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, because I remember elbowing Emily at least twice. At least twice.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, I keep meaning to see Once Upon a Time again. I'm a bad person and just haven't.
See, now you got me second-guessing myself.
Yeah, one that I definitely think of, a smaller Zucker Brothers movie from the late 70s called Kentucky Fried Movie, one of my favorite parody films of all time. It is so just offensive in its portrayal of nudity and just racist stereotypes and stuff like that. There is no possible way in hell that movie could be made. However, if you kind of take it for what it is and for the sort of parody that the Zuckers would go on to perfect with Airplane and the Naked Gun series and stuff like that. Kentucky Fried Movie is so offensive. I love it.
All right, so Anthony Winter in the YouTube chat is correcting me, saying that there were no N-words. He saw it 3 times. So I'm going to take your word over mine. I don't know what I elbowed Emily about. It could have been something other Tarantino-y. Maybe it was a particular shot or something, but I did elbow her regarding something. So I have to watch it again. I screwed up. That's my fault. But so what has he done? 9 films, 8 out of 9 films. He did manage to shoehorn the N-word in a European film that took place during World War II. That
for the record, that does. That takes some to do it. You're trying at that point when you're doing that. I do give you that.
Well, that's when they're doing the guessing game with the cards on the head, and instead of King Kong, he says, "Am I so and so in America?" Then I'm King Kong.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Stephen King, unfortunately, guys, he has horrible word used in a lot of his stuff, and yet he puts it in the mouth of bad guys a lot of the time. But nonetheless,
it wasn't in It 2017. He dropped that gay F-bomb, or not he, but whoever adapted.
It actually was Stephen King playing the bully in that scene. It's lots of makeup, lots of de-aging CGI.
Oh yeah. Not it.
The only slightly racist thing I heard was "Don't cry in front of the Mexicans." That's that.
Oh, that was funny though.
Yeah. Incredibly racist.
Yeah. That line did make me laugh. I'll admit it.
Yeah, I think that was more of a social class kind of thing, which I guess could be kind of derogatory. But,
yeah. So.
What am I saying? Most definitely.
The point is, fiction. It shouldn't be judged nearly as hard. I mean, there's stuff that I mean, if you're going by modern day standards, you're not allowed to watch. I don't know, half the movies before what, 1963.
Are you going to go watch Gone with the Wind, which is considered, Gone with the Wind, one of the most celebrated films ever in all of existence, probably the highest grosser if you're going to adjust for inflation.
It is.
Of all
it
time.
Is still. Yeah, it definitively is. I think it's like a pretty wide berth actually between number 1 and number 2.
So Titanic would then be unwatchable because that deals with something that we have since fixed in society, but the film shows the multi, like you were talking about before, the different classes and different types of people were spoken.
You shouldn't hate older art for doing things that are okay then that aren't okay now, but you shouldn't diminish the discussion about it, because art is for public consumption, and part of public consumption is discussion. So you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, especially if it's older stuff. If you close your ears to something from 30 years ago, how can you work on it and fix it?
Truly, it's like, how do you live from the past and not repeat it by not studying it? That's why we study history, because those who don't learn from it are damned to repeat it, and that whole cliched thing, but it holds true. It really does. So.
Yeah. And actually, I was something in the chat. Slipcover King is just mentioned if you find things offensive, you shouldn't watch comedies, and only because I made a list not long ago about comedies that I think are funny that aren't offensive. Game Night, Nice Guys, Blockers, Tag, We Are the Millers, Good Boys, Bridesmaids, Shazam, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, Ragnarok, Deadpool 1 and 2, Lego Movie, Lego Batman, Sorry to Bother You, Popstar, This Is the End,
Popstar!
The World's End.
There's no way Popstar
Popstar
doesn't offend somebody technically. There's no way.
But that movie is
it
also
goes for
hilarious.
every quotient. Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. That's all I had to say. I love your Slipcover. You're always watching our stuff. Thanks for watching.
And my stomach's so full from all the pride I've swallowed. Like, oh my god, that movie is so ridiculous.
There's just so many good moments in that movie. It's
So
I hate Connor for real.
The B footage is the best where they cut away. So we have a bit of news that we all of us were sitting on for a while, but it's finally public, and Fuego's got an ultra inside track.
I am pregnant. Fuego is the father.
Yes, it's going to be just like Tenacious D when they had their HBO show and KG had a butt baby. That's essentially what's going down. We're thinking of some names right now, and it's going to be
I'm going Bobby Bill, I think, but maybe that's a little like no. But go ahead. This is a big moment. Go for it.
Actual film star MIKO Hughes of Pet Sematary, Mercury Rising, Kindergarten Cop, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare fame is
Spawn.
What? Oh, Spawn. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
It wasn't Spawn.
I was telling Emily, I'm like, this kid was in everything in the '90s. Just trust me.
Tons of stuff. Yeah.
So he's
and then he started going head to head with Haley Joel Osment for certain roles, and Haley won a couple in succession. And it kind of aggravated MIKO a little bit, and that's.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure if I should have mentioned that.
Oh,
Boy.
yeah, we're live. Don't worry about
it. A little behind the scenes. I mean, it's well documented that they both went for the role in Sixth Sense, and that they both. I mean, this stuff is floating around in the interwebs and sense, but Haley took a couple roles from him, and it started kind of a little mini competition, I guess, of sorts in the late 90s.
And you only need 2 steps to 6 degrees me to him, because I was in Ghost Rider with Blaise Burdal, who was in Pet Cemetery with MIKO Hughes.
Yes,
it's 2 steps.
Yeah,
me to MIKO Hughes.
Who has a twin sister,
Right,
which I had
right.
no idea that was twins
Blaise
actually.
and Beau.
That's how they could. Yeah, that's how they could basically get through the child labor laws, by having twins, because they could have one work one portion of the day and then another work the other portion of it, and they could get so much more filming done. And
that's genius.
Yeah. Why do you think you had Mary Kate and Ashley and all these other sets of twins over the years? Yeah, that's how they did it. So.
That you have blown my mind, sir. How
I'm surprised you didn't know about this. Yeah,
being in LA, that's kind of a big deal.
Well, how many twins actually work that much?
Tons of them actually.
Really?
The Terminator 2, those guys were famous for being the same.
Wait, Terminator 2, which guys?
The cop from the mental facility is 2 people. That's how they cheated that scene. The guy with the coffee or whatever.
Oh, you're right.
I watched the behind the scenes on the director's cut VHS. It was like the 2 set with the behind the scenes and everything. I remember, watching that with my father. It's my father's favorite film of all time.
So, Inner Circle. Yes. Inner Circle friend of the channel, Cecil of the Horror Show, who will be here to talk about it on this show sometime before the Indiegogo round is up. It literally just went up today because it's the 25th anniversary of the film being released. Fuego, right?
Woo!
Exactly. Yeah. So 25 years ago today, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which was really meta before meta was meta in a lot of ways. I mean, we're talking before Wes did Scream, before it became a big trend in the late 90s and early 2000s to be so self-referential and like break the fourth wall, block and like wink and look at the camera sort of thing. This film doesn't necessarily do that, but it has like the original Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It's after Freddy's dead, and what do you do after you presumably killed Freddy but decide to bring him into the real world by saying that the evil that Wes created was so just just horrible, and had so much power gained from just his inception of the idea of this sort of nastiness, that it could take life in the real world and jump from the peripheral pages and screen and whatever. So it's more so a demon that liked taking the form of Freddy than Freddy Krueger himself, and he's in the real world. And we have Heather Langenkamp playing herself. We have Wes Craven playing herself. We have Robert Shea, the producer, playing himself. I mean, it's so cool the way that they put all of this together. But then you obviously have MIKO Hughes, the aforementioned actor, playing Heather Langenkamp, the fictional version of Heather Langenkamp's son, because MIKO is not her son in real life.
Aw, man.
She wasn't collecting she wasn't collecting those Full House checks or anything, So Cecil had this idea back when we were at Mad Monster Charlotte in 2019, early this year. And I feel just like I shouldn't be the one telling this story to the audience, but as a co-producer with him on the horror show and somebody who's worked with him, obviously not as long as Dave, but myself and Dave are the two guys behind him in a lot of ways running the horror show. And he got this idea when we met him in February that we should try to do a sequel to Dylan's New Nightmare, to Wes Craven's New Nightmare, entitled Dylan's New Nightmare, after meeting MIKO. And he kind of soft pitched the idea to MIKO when we met him in Charlotte, and MIKO's like, sure, great, whatever. He's just like, oh, you're fanboying out. It's fine, whatever. We filmed an interview with him. Like Cecil did MIKO, I did Adrienne Barbeau. Those were our two big interviews from that from that convention. And so we were both, respectively happy. But Cecil, after sitting on it for a few months, and we realized MIKO was going to be coming back to Mad Monster Arizona, he was like, well, as opposed to just having a skeletal idea of a script, I need to sit down and actually write not just a script, but also a teaser, trailer script too, of about a minute or two.
Which is what was, this episode, if you watch from the start, we front loaded the trailer.
Yep.
For the Indiegogo campaign, which is technically, I mean, is that Cecil will be on some point before the month is up. The link to the campaign is in the YouTube page if you're listening.
It's going for the next 31 days, Indiegogo, and you can see the teaser trailer for the prospective film on the horror show as of this morning, as well as Cecil has an announcement video where he describes the entirety of the project, all of the talent that has been assembled for it, including on a producer / cinematographer / editing role. We have Renee Rivas, who is behind The Spirit of Haddonfield, incredibly talented guy who has been amassing all of his toys and tools for making bigger and better things since doing Spirit. He has, different smaller corporate gigs and stuff that he does, but he's here in Arizona with us up in Flagstaff. And then from Womp Stomp Films, we have Vincent Santi, who did Never Hike Alone, which is one of the best and most successful, not just Jason Voorhees Friday the 13th fan films. It's legit, and this is not me kissing ass or whatever. I enjoyed the hell out of that movie, and I like the simplicity of it. I like the performance of the lead actor especially. I love the way that Renee assisted him with shooting it. It really shows that the fans have ascended to a level where they can make stuff that is of a comparable par to, I mean, some of the weaker entries maybe, and with refining skills could maybe even make stuff on par, if not better, with the right resources and funding and stuff, because the ideas are big from some of these younger creatives that are coming up, like Vince, like Renee, and like Cecil in this regard. And Dylan's story feels like it needs to be told. I tweeted about this earlier. It's the Freddy movie that people don't just want, but they need, because this is a story that I feel like deserves to be continued. So props to him for getting this all going.
I said this to Cecil a couple of times, in private when I knew about this, a week ago or so. That, I can't tell you how many times somebody said, hey, CP, watch this Friday the 13th fan film. Or Cody gets requests to watch some Halloween fan film. The one thing nobody hears about is Nightmare on Elm Street. And I told him,
it's weird.
It's that's such a wide open, I don't know what you would call it. I don't know why nobody's doing it, but it's such a beloved franchise. And I rewatched New Nightmare last night in preparation.
Yes, we saw your photo. We laughed.
Yeah. So now you know why. It wasn't inexplicable. So I watched the film, and I'm not a nightmare guy. So like watching that with a new set of eyes, and specifically focused on the piece that I knew, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting, because I'm curious to see what Cecil does as writer and director, because the film's end is a little ambiguous. Would you argue that?
The ending of New Nightmare? Yeah. I mean, it's a 25-year-old film, so you can start.
I mean, they're pages on a script, and she's,
and they start reading it to each other, or she's reading it to her son, obviously.
So it's not real life then, or is it? Because she's reading pages on a script, and he asks, "Is it a story?" And then she says yes, and you're literally seeing the words, "Is it a story?" So I'm curious. I'm just curious to see. I'm
looking in the comments, and I was really trying to dance around like how much I should say and how much I should not.
All right. So Cecil, not only will he be on this show to talk about it at some point, again, the trailer played in the beginning of the show. There's a whole bunch of the info on the IGG Indiegogo link down in the description on the YouTube page. He will be here literally at WILIscredia HQ for a couple of nights. So we'll film something. We'll get something out of him. And I'll see what he'll let me talk about and what he'll let us put up. But
well, I mean, bottom line, guys, if you jump over to the horror show and you watch the teaser, there is the link to the Indiegogo where you can help Cecil out with this project that has been a passion of his for, I mean, just about a year at this particular point, and seeing all of the efforts that he's put in it, coming from inception to fruition. This is just the first, it's like, I don't know, like Neil on the moon. It's one small step for the horror show and one giant step coming for Horror Kind, with everybody's help with, making this
Horror
awesome
Kind.
Well, no, seriously, because it's like I said, it's the horror film that I feel like I am a nightmare guy.
Okay.
Freddy Krueger is my favorite slasher. I've never been super big on the Michael Myers and the Jason Voorhees and all of these other things. And, I'm just contributing a little bit with music, and I helped as a PA and stuff. But bottom line, this is Cecil, and with the assistance of Renee and Vince and, his longtime producing partner in Dave Friedman. So it's a project that everybody needs to go and watch the 2-minute teaser, because it will get you stoked as hell about the possibility of what this could be with the resources to make it all happen properly.
So something that you talked about, you alluded to before, that I think should be hammered home. First of all, this is a fan film. This is show business. Normally we talk about money and the nerdy stuff. This is strictly for fandom. There's no profit. No profit can be made. Anything that's being put into the project is being put into the project. And I think that's why fan films, especially lately, and especially with the advent of YouTube, are working. You're seeing ideas, whether or not they're executed perfectly. I mean, I would say there's some fan films that are shot on an iPhone or whatever that have a decent enough idea, and then you have stuff of the Rene Rivas level, and obviously Vince. You see stuff like this, and it's just like, what's the one thing that's making these things stick out? And I can't help but think there's no interference. It's fans that are making these movies with fan ideas that have nothing to do with bottom lines. They're just making it because they're a fan of the series, and people are putting money into it, saying, hey, I want to see more of this. Here's money for it. I like your idea. And that's it. Nobody's worrying about making 4 times their budget. This is just for the love of the game, essentially, and it's so refreshing. And these big studios really should take a look at stuff like this. I mean, even further than horror. What's his face from Serenity? did a
Oh yeah,
for,
Nathan Bateman.
Fillion.
yeah for
Nathan Bateman.
for he did a thing for
Yeah,
Uncharted.
Mr. Fillion.
So
Yeah.
you know that's because people who were fans of the game, they all but wanted him in a movie, and I don't know how much he had to do with it, but people just said, you know what, F this, we'll do it ourselves with him. And
it wasn't just Bateman too. What's his face from frickin' Avatar was in that short too. The guy from Don't Breathe. Stephen
that's right.
Miller?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the guy with the white hair.
Um,
Yeah.
Stephen something, right?
Yeah, I don't know what his name is.
Boy, he has narrated a bunch of Stephen King stories, actually.
He's just got that voice, man. He should be in everything. Stephen Lang.
Yeah.
Stephen Lang.
Yeah, he did the In the Tall Grass audiobook for Stephen King and Joe Hill, and then he also did Throttle, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he's a great reader, man, and terrific actor. He's a dude I think needs more work. 100%.
So I
completely
think
agree.
it's here we are talking about money and numbers and studios and stuff, and it's just a refreshing thing to see. And Cecil should know this, that I don't give credit out if I don't mean it. It's quite refreshing to see somebody put effort and heart into something when there's really nothing to be gained from it. Like genuinely zero can be gained other than what credit. Great job.
Credit. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, and another thing, and this is one that maybe I skirt around saying, but the fact that Cecil did fund, the production of this teaser pretty much all himself.
Right.
So he has invested time and money into this with hopes that others will see the potential of this project and want to help out with it because they love Freddie, they love Miko's character of Dylan, and they want to see more from him and where all of this could go.
So Fuego, all of us have had some sort of experience on budgeted films, and you were a part of the production process of just this trailer. How long did it take to produce that 2 minutes of footage?
And this is maybe more where Cecil should feel the extent
Well,
of these questions.
I want to hear from a PA's
I mean,
perspective. We're going to hear from Cecil. I promise. If not multiple times.
Oh, jeez.
But I'm just curious to see.
Well, I mean, I was a PA to the extent of the fact that I was just helping, move around and set up gear, lighting and, like helping with fog machines, different things like that. And then I was also doing BTS. So I was behind the scenes with the camera, filming when we were setting up for like the green screen shot for the poster with our Freddy. When we were, I was taking video footage when we were setting up for the bed scene with, some stuff that you will see in the trailer because I don't want to give that away. But yeah, it was also even for intimate times like behind the scenes where Cecil is talking with Miko and giving him some motivation as the director and writer to his lead about how to approach this scene of when you're just have this nightmare coming on without saying much. So it was very cool to see the extent of the process. I had been the lead in Cecil's previous written and directed film short, which was called Sweet, based on the American Vampire series. Him and I have still been batting around ideas for the sequel to that because this year is the 10-year anniversary up in 2020 of American Vampire's initial release. The comic is about to be relaunched.
All about anniversaries. But get Cecil married so he can, keep on the ring.
Yeah. So, but obviously Dylan's New Nightmare is the full focus, and just watching him jive and the creative just kind of juices and the bouncing of everything, because there is pre-production days before and then there's another day or so after.
Well, I would hope, and I'm pretty sure this goes without saying, that Cecil's 1,000% invested in this project. What is it like as somebody who's there helping? I mean, in the end, if there's a chance that this is just a waste of money for Cecil, and that's what's crazy about these fan films. And we joke about Disney just pissing away money, but as somebody who wasn't paid, who's there to just help, like how much of a team?
I see the comments. It's just like there's a fine little straddling act that has to entail in this process where you can't say too much and you don't want to say too little. I will say that I am consistently impressed, especially on a film set, with the guy who brought me into the fold here on the horror show, and just got me more from doing music coverage into doing horror coverage. He's thorough. He is passionate about this project in its entirety, and just, he in some ways was not willing to, like he took suggestion from his producing team, but yet he has a, I mean, it was more so not like physical notes, but it was like suggestions, and there were some that he took in stride where there was more gray area, but then there were others where he has a vision for this. And so that is the biggest thing. He had not just a vision of a story to tell, but he had a vision with, he actually set up the storyboards and stuff.
I'm going to talk to Cecil. I promise you I'm going to talk to Cecil. I want to hear your experience as somebody who wasn't paid, who's just a dude helping another dude make a movie that could just be a waste of money. So I'm asking, what is everybody else like? What's the teamwork aspect like on something where you're just at the whim of somebody's creativity? How much, because I'm a twice over failed filmmaker because I didn't have the right people around me, and people just didn't show up for stuff. And to even get something, to get a trailer done, like, that's success. I don't know how many people can say that. Just,
I mean,
so as like, what, aside from Cecil's directing technique and how he was, how did you feel the process went of creating something that really, you're just, it's the, I don't know, it's the filmmaker equivalent of helping somebody move, I guess is the best way to put it. Because, I mean, everybody's had that friend that asks him to move, and you're just like, I don't.
It's a really long ride.
Is there pizza involved? Because...
Yeah, surprisingly, no pizza, but lots of Chipotle. I will.
Chipotle.
Yeah, Chipotle. Yeah, Chipotle. But the smart thing that he most definitely did was probably because this is something that I could imagine if you were really going to just all night it and be crazy, and had a much lower budget than what he was willing to front without giving numbers or anything like that. This could have been done in a night. And yet we had a number of them. Okay. And it was because of the fact that he took the process of getting this right so seriously. And if we had to reshoot an exterior of the home, or if we had to reshoot like tons and tons of takes of one particular scene of even a flick of the claw, we were going to have time to do that because we afforded ourselves that much, because we wanted to make sure everything was done as impeccably as possible. And it just shows the I mean, Cecil and I have been working together nowhere near as long as him and Dave, obviously, but we've been co-hosting together and co-producing for a number of years now on the horror show. And he is always of the perfectionist process. And he, especially if it's him in a self-expressive manner, and that's what this really is him taking a franchise that he adores and respects the hell out of, and trying to add a like little notch to the belt, like a competent sequence within all of its mythology. That's what this, I mean, he took it as seriously as possible, and he afforded himself the time. And he was the one who reached out to these various people like Vince and like Renee, and seeing the way they all jived on set, was cool. And I was there once again, along with Josh Schultz, the Wicked One. Both of us are doing a little bit of music for the film. There's my guitarist in my band is helping with some score stuff for the behind the scenes. So it is like a collective well-oiled machine, and the people that Cecil asked to come on and help were dedicated. I mean, we had like some who were only able to be on set for like one day as opposed to 2 or 3 or whatever. But for the most part, there was a lot of people getting like no compensation, and yet there because they like Cecil, they respect Cecil, and they want to help him, because then not just because he's personable and cool and my friend, and I speak with a obviously slanted perspective in that, and I am kind of preferential, and I do play favorites in that regard, but I do feel like he has a creativity that kind of breams with energy, and for that reason people wanted to work with him, and that it helped with the process here. So. Right.
So what is seen in that trailer is mentally, if you just think about it, you're at somebody's house. You get an establishing shot of the house, and then you're in a bedroom, and there's a lighting change. You know, I'm really kind of cliffs notesing it here, but
and that's where we want people to go watch it, as opposed to also go watch Cody Leach's reaction.
Yeah, there's stuff down below.
Did you do a reaction video for your trailer?
Yeah.
Afterwards.
That's awesome.
Well, Cody reacted to it. He was kind enough to react to it and spread the word. So.
Oh, that's good. Go Cody.
How many days did it take to film that little thing? That 2 minutes of footage. How many days did you guys work?
Well, we had 4 days booked. Okay. So we had
4 days for 2 minutes of footage. Like, that's just what I want people to understand. The difference between big budget and for the love of the game. And
although it was only 2 technical days of filming. There was other stuff being.
Well, you had to set something.
I mean, there was so much to the project, like all the behind the scenes stuff and the intro video for the Indiegogo and lots of other stuff. And Cecil will have a lot to.
Oh, and you shot behind the scenes stuff. That's all right. You know what? You should have just told me to shut up and.
Yeah, that's why I said BTS, but the whole. It was actually an acronym I didn't even learn about until I heard MIKO and various others saying, like, could we not have BTS during this scene? And I'm like there with the side camera, and I'm just like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, okay.
Pro telling you to get the fuck out of his face. There's the 3. So that is what that's probably going to be added footage to Perks. I'm assuming the stuff that you shot. Or is Cecil just, you know what? Don't answer that.
Those
don't
are
answer
all
that.
in.
Yeah, don't answer that.
Inquiries for Cecil. Yeah. I will speak specifically from the way we did it with Sweet, though, if that gives any indication. For Sweet, the short film was made over the course of 2.5 evenings. So we had 2 nights initially booked back in, I think, 2016 when we made that film. And, we ended up having to, we got rained out halfway through one night. So we added on a third evening and we finished it. But the final product, the actual short film, was around 10 minutes, and the behind the scenes of all of those days of the project was about 30 minutes, and we screened them both at Phoenix Comic-Con. So, all too often you will probably get a big bloated behind the scenes for some of these smaller projects, just, setting up shots, talking with your cast members, giving director motivation with MIKO, like I said before, hearing banter between Vince and Renee and Cecil sometimes just being very steadfast in what he wanted to do and not taking the suggestions of Vince or Renee. It was a creative, just kind of cohesive bit of everybody, almost like a writer's room mentality, but just on set. And, just, hey, maybe we should frame this up different. Maybe we should light this different or whatever. Sure. But it was just cool to see all of it in action.
All right, you're off the hook, Fuego.
All right.
So for those of you who are familiar with fan films, Renee Rivas, who's a brilliant cinematographer. I mean, just watch the trailer. It's pretty. It's almost, I think we had a discussion that it was too pretty. They had to unpretty it for a little bit.
They did.
He directed The Spirit of Haddonfield, which is a Halloween fan film. Vince DeSanti, who is, Friday the 13th fan film extraordinaire. These are 2 people that are a cinematographer or DP and a producer that whether or not you know Cecil's eye and or his pen, these are people that have seen what he has to offer and are backing and helping him. So if you dig Nightmare on Elm Street, if you're especially a fan of New Nightmare, I would most certainly tell you at the very least share the link down below, the Indiegogo link, because who knows, fans put way more into these movies, especially horror. Fans put way more into this stuff than studios, because it's not about the bottom line here. It's about making a quality product.
And some of the best stuff on YouTube, honestly, is fan-based. It's like some of the channels that I watch the most are like the anime abridged series that are all just fans just like showing their love for anime series. There's a lot of good stuff that can come out of it. I can't wait to see it. I really can. You guys put out good stuff. I can't wait to see where this goes.
I like that the Chiron was over your mouth, so it looked like you were saying something that needed to be dubbed. So apologies. There was no. We were fooled about the Star Wars trailer. So maybe next week. I don't know.
Yeah, there was conflicting reports going around about whether it was going to debut tonight or next week. There was one reputable person tweeting that it was tonight, then another.
And John Boyega said tonight too, and that frustrated me.
Boyega.
So was the sports ball game over with then?
I don't know if it's over, but I don't think they.
It's in the fourth quarter from what I can see, but I'm guessing.
Well,
they probably would have shown it already if it was.
Yes, for the East Coast, they would have shown it by now. So what they will do in typical show business fashion, they'll air it 20 minutes after we go off air, and
They're literally waiting. They're like their finger over the button the moment we're gone. Go.
Yeah.
So.
There was one troll who has seen a few episodes who has suddenly just wanted to be the bane of our existence for whatever reason.
Keep joking about Disney. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Why can't you be shills like everyone else?
So if it's next Monday, or if not, if they release it sometime between now and next Monday, obviously we'll have watched it. We could explore that further. Or if they do the same thing next Monday, you'll get our live, on the spot reactions. Then, other than that, I'll go from the bottom up. Lindsey, you working on anything?
I do. Yes. I don't want to say. I don't want to say anything right now, but I have some stuff I'm playing with, and there is kind of a big project in the works. Yes.
All right. Vague, nice. I like it.
Well, it's such an early pre-production. Like, who knows what it's going to even end up being? If it, what I mean? But I do have a thing.
Fair enough. Fuego.
So obviously lots going on the horror show this week and this month, obviously. Tomorrow night we're seeing Zombieland 2 Double Tap Cecil and myself, along with Marcia, checking out the Maleficent sequel. So there will be reviews of both of those coming very soon. Check out the trailer specifically for Dylan's New Nightmare. It's about 2 minutes. Give Cecil and Dave and the rest of the team your thoughts. And if you dig the project and you feel like you would want to contribute and help out in any sort of shape, that would be really rad status. Beyond that, for Infuegotainment, I did an Ad Astra review because I finally got around to watching it a few days ago. And I was just decent. Very Terrence Malick
not decent.
in a lot of ways.
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, the score got me for whatever reason. I don't know. If you want my full thoughts, check that out, as well as an upcoming review for the film that I saw just this past weekend, Gemini Man. So next weekend, maybe JoJo's Rabbit. We'll see if I can find it playing somewhere in limited release.
Yeah, I think all of us will have taken in at least one of the new releases this week. Because if I can find JoJo's Rabbit, I'm intrigued about that. Zombieland
and The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers.
Yeah, maybe not as much,
but maybe not.
But Zombieland, I know we've been talking about that for a while now. There's a couple. I think we'll all have taken stuff in. To those on Patreon, you've slowly been getting a production process, which by the way, it helped because I've been releasing the 31 on 31 pieces to those who are on my Patreon, and somebody found a nugget that needed to be fixed, and that credit goes to Raiders AK Felix, who said, by the way, you were talking about blank and you said that. And I said, okay, thank you. That's why you guys get this special crappy version, and the rest of the world gets a polished version. But if you want to see early pieces of 31 on 31, which will be released on October 31st, that is on my Patreon. $1 gets you access to that. An unfinished product. So if that doesn't entice you, I don't know what will.
Imagine if you put out finished product.
Oh, yeah, you'll also get Emily and our first reaction to whatever the hell we watch this weekend. So there's that. If that entices you, conversations with Emily. Accents. So other than that, we'll probably, again, something huge will happen, and then we'll have to talk about it and remember it like it was just now, because it probably will happen now. Any last words from any of you?
Two peanuts were walking down a street. One was assaulted.